feel like Greg needs to grow up. I had to sacrifice a lot to come and be with my fiancé. So I want him to man up and get out of his mother's house.
Did you sleep with that girl?
I did.
It just doesn't make sense to me. Honestly, I've been always wondering if Stevi is into women.
From overbearing mums, privacy issues and employment concerns, to cheating revelations and doubts already beginning to arise about how well you actually know the woman you've sacrificed everything to be with, this season of 90 Day Fiancé is beginning to heat up nicely.
Yeah, it's hot. It is hot. We're finally getting hot.
Now, before I dive in, just a quick note, 70% of people watching this video are return viewers to the channel but aren't yet subscribed. If that's you, do me a favour, show your support, hit that subscribe button and let's dive in. So after begging his mummy to please allow him and his fiancée to sleep in the same room, we join Greg and Joan together in his bed on their first morning. And immediately we get a taste for how tricky it's going to be for Joan living with Greg's mum.
Oh yeah. Hey Mom!
Hi, Greg.
Yeah, there's not a lot of privacy or separation in that home, but at least Joan is able to see the funny side of this rude awakening on her first morning. Although I'm willing to bet this is going to grate on her very quickly. I mean, understandably, Joan is worried. She's concerned about what her life is going to be like living under Greg's mum's rules. And as it turns out, she's right to worry. You see, when Greg goes downstairs to cook breakfast, the questioning and the judgment begins.
Where is she, by the way?
She is taking a shower.
Again? Last night she took a shower.
I know. She takes a lot of showers.
Lucille isn't happy about all of Joan's showers. She says she might need to put a timer on the showers, or maybe Joan could jump in the pool instead. I mean, wow. Going from living independently to being told when and how you can shower is going to become a real nightmare for Joan. Now, interestingly, Greg appears to be on his mum's side. She showers a lot, he says. And when we join them all over breakfast, Lucille pretty much immediately doesn't hesitate in bringing up the topic.
Gregory says you'd like to take a lot of showers.
Yeah.
How many a day?
She wants to know how many a day she has, how warm they are, and how long they last for. It all sounds way over the top. It's a bit too much for her very first morning. And while, don't get me wrong, I understand that she's the one footing the bills, perhaps rather than being restrictive with Joan's personal hygiene, maybe she should be taking more of an issue with Greg's lack of contribution. Why isn't he contributing towards paying the bills if money is clearly so tight? Now, Greg clearly feels awkward about this, so he feels the need to try and deflect using humour.
You know, a bill comes in every month for the hot water.
I thought it was free. Kind of like when you throw your laundry down the basement and all of a sudden it just comes back clean and folded.
No.
Yeah, that is definitely deflection, isn't it? Let's try and lighten the mood. Let's try and take away from how serious and how controlling this actually is by trying to make fun of the actual reality of life in that household. Ha ha ha, I thought it was all free. I thought the fairies did the laundry for me. I mean, you're a grown man, Greg. This is all a bit too much.
I love Greg so much, but I'm not here to look after him.
His room is, for now, it'll work, right?
Yeah, she's moved across the world, she's given up her job, her life, her family, everything to be in a relationship with Greg, but not to have to look after him. Like, yeah, the room will do for now, but of course she wants her own place. And by the way, she also doesn't expect to have to clean his closet for him either, like he expects her to. I don't know, like alarm bells are definitely ringing. If he knows what's good for him, if he actually wants to maintain this relationship, he's going to need to learn how to stand on his own 2 feet, how to be independent for himself very fast.
I feel like Greg needs to grow up. I had to sacrifice a lot to come and be with my fiancé. So I want him to man up and get out of his mother's house.
But for as pressing a concern as that is, when we join them later on as they're out getting some groceries, Joan gets a reality check. She sees for the very first time just how expensive life in America is. And guess what? This just freaks her out even more.
Prices of stuff here in America, insane. I don't know how we are going to live. Greg is a person who would just want to spend. He doesn't think about tomorrow.
Carefree Greg says he doesn't shop to a budget. If he sees something that he wants, he grabs it. Now that very much sounds like a man who's never had to budget, a man who's never had to pay a cent towards bills before, doesn't it? How nice that must be. He barely has a job, but any leftover cash he has, he can just spend frivolously without having to worry about. I mean, that kind of attitude could be disastrous for their future. But as it turns out, it all gets so much worse.
You know, I declined that state job.
You did?
Yeah.
So it turns out the man who doesn't have a steady income, the man who seemed genuinely sad about the fact that he can't afford his own place, was offered a job, a steady paying job by the New York State Department, which he turned down. Like, why, Greg? Why?
I don't see the reason you had to decline the job. We need the money.
I don't know, were you coming and everything? I just wanted to be able to spend time with you.
Ah yes, the age-old excuse on 90 Day Fiancé for guys that are too lazy to work. I just wanted to spend more quality time with you, he says. It was a job I didn't even want. It was a miserable job, he claims. Which raises the question, why did he apply for it in the first place? I mean, he must have applied for it in order to be offered it, right? Poor Joan. Like, she looks almost as miserable as Greg claims he would have been working at this job. Now, as she begins to tear up, she tells the man she was set to marry but maybe now is reconsidering that all she wants is to have a shower. No, she doesn't actually say that. She says all she wants is to feel secure. Greg promises that he'll do everything he can, but already the tension is building.
The pressure is tremendous. It's like a balloon just keeps stretching and about to pop. It's a little overwhelming.
It's going to be very interesting to see whether or not Greg and Joan can handle this pressure. Pressure with finances, pressure with Lucille, and pressure with the lack of privacy. But on that theme of privacy, another couple in a similar boat are Juan and Jessica. You see, even though these two do have their own house, with all the kids around, they haven't exactly had a lot of time to themselves. But for the first time since arriving in the States, today the coast is clear.
But today, we got some privacy, so you need to take advantage, and we did that. I don't know if you can see my face, but I'm feeling so happy. I'm feeling free. Oof.
With the kids all off at school, for the first time, they've had some alone time. And judging by the smile on Juan's face, he's delighted. Now, it's probably a good thing that he's in a good mood, because he's gonna need all the good spirit he can muster when he explores his new hometown.
This is the main street.
Wow.
This sleepy little town is a shock to Juan's system. It's a million miles away to life back home in Colombia and life on the cruise ships. But the thing is, as they take a walk around as he's trying to take it all in, Jessica goes into overdrive. She begins trying a little bit too hard to try and convince Juan that life isn't all that different to what he's used to. It's actually pretty similar, she claims.
One thing I think that's similar is like the cruise, you have like 1,000 workers. So you like live in a small community already. You have one bar.
You only have one bar? We have 2 bars here, so this is actually better, says Jessica. Yeah, the problem is no one's buying that, especially not Juan. This tiny little town that smells like cow poo.
Oh, I can smell.
You smell
Cow
something.
poop.
Can't be compared to the gigantic cruise ship I worked on, where there was constantly hustle and bustle, where there were always people coming and going, he says. Like, Jessica's desperate attempts to try and hide the fact that there's a difference isn't fooling or helping anyone. But Jessica thinks she has another perfect perfect solution to help Juan settle in. Tonight, she says, we're going to have a night out. We're going to go out with my friends. But the thing is, if he wants to hang out with her friends, if he wants to become a local, he's going to need to familiarise himself with the local cuisine.
Get us some Rocky Mountain oysters.
What is that?
Cow's balls.
You know we eat the nuts, right?
Not gonna lie, that doesn't sound too appetising to me either, but I guess when in Rome. Now poor Juan, feeling the peer pressure, wanting to make a good impression on these people, who hopefully will turn into being his friends as well, gives in and gives them a try. And while he puts on a brave face, you can tell it's an act.
Cheers, Juan. So good.
Yeah, while he puts on a brave face, while he gives the crowd what they want, privately to the camera crew, he definitely tells a different story.
Yeah, thanks. Here's the rest of it, you know.
Now, his performance has fooled most, and I say most, of Jessica's friends, because there is still one friend, Jessica's best friend, Megan, who's yet to be convinced by Juan. As you may recall from Love in Paradise, Megan and Juan didn't exactly get along too well. Megan was always ultra suspicious about Juan. She was convinced that he cheated on Jessica, but never admitted to it. So tonight, she wants to confront him again.
I want honesty from Juan. I want him to tell me what actually happened because girls have intuition.
So Megan pulls Juan aside, sits down with him at the bar and begins to quiz him. I want to know the truth, she says. I want to know what really happened with that other woman on the cruise. I have an intuition. I really think something happened. Tell me the truth, she demands. And remarkably, much to everyone's surprise, Juan actually comes clean.
What I'm really struggling with is you still haven't answered my question. What happened on the cruise?
Well, I messed up.
You messed up?
Look at Megan's face. She really didn't see that coming. None of us did. Now, for as much as Juan has maintained all along that what happened is none of her business, tonight he seems to have changed his tune. Perhaps this is his way of trying to get some goodwill, trying to come clean to Jessica's friends. And so he begins to open up completely.
Did you sleep with that girl?
I did.
Wow. Now, they leave it on that bombshell, but I can guarantee you next week is going to get interesting. I wonder if rather than Rocky Mountain oysters, next week it's going to be Juan's balls on the line. Now, as it turns out, Juan and Jessica aren't the only couple with fidelity issues this week. You see, Stevi and Mahdi have a lot to think about too. Having finally made it back to her home, Mahdi is feeling very uncomfortable. There's a lot that he's going to have to get used to.
I see boobs everywhere, like boobs, 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 like too many, like I don't know why.
Remember, Stevi is a painter who paints nudes, female nudes, and Mahdi comes from a place where nude pictures can get you arrested. This is a lot for him to take in, but the thing is, it's not the only thing he's going to need to get used to fast, because there's another resident of the house that's freaking him out. It has him in a cold sweat.
So she can see you. What do you think?
Can I be honest?
Yeah.
I have to wash my hands.
Back home, back in Iran, he says, cats aren't allowed in my house. I've been taught from birth never to even stroke a cat. Cats are dirty animals, he says. Why? Like, is this another Iranian law that we've never heard about? Well, no, it's not. It's apparently because his mother got sick from a cat while she was pregnant with him. It feels like a very ingrained, deep-rooted belief that he has, and it's going to be very hard to reconcile that, overcome that, to now live with a cat. Now, the poor animal does look incredibly cute. How can you not love that face? Hopefully Mahdi can get used to her. But before he can even recover from the shock of a cat, his eyes are drawn back to yet more female nudes.
I swear I didn't know you were like doing this a lot. Like I've seen like 10 boobs since I got in the house.
Oh, there's boobs right there too.
Mahdi just just doesn't understand it. He says there are so many other things that Stevie can paint. Like, why doesn't she paint men? It's all beginning to worry him. He suddenly begins to question Stevie. I actually don't know her all that well. Could her artistic expression be masking something, he asks.
It just doesn't make sense to me. Honestly, I've been always wondering if Stevie is into women.
Wow, that's quite the leap, isn't it? Now, he goes on to say, if he finds out that she is into women, then I'm going to lose all my trust in her. But, as we're about to see in a second, it might actually be that she's already lost his trust. Now, we'll come to that shortly. But, when we join him the next morning, Mahdi appears to just be happy, thankful, grateful that he's made it through the night. He's happy just to be alive.
I have watched so many American scary movies, and most of them were like in these kind of houses. It kind of scared me. Oh my God.
Comparing your new home, the place where you're meant to feel safe and comfortable, to a horror movie isn't exactly a good omen, is it? Now, in a bid to help him settle in, Stevie decides to show Mahdi around town. That goes a lot more smoothly.
Until
Stevie breaks the news to Mahdi that while he's meant to be meeting her dad later on this evening, she actually has a confession she needs to make that might ruin everything.
I hadn't told Dad anything about you yet before you got here.
Like nothing? Like who I am?
Yeah, no, I didn't.
In over a year that they've been together, in the months and months it's taken to get the K1 visa, Stevie hadn't even told her dad that she had a boyfriend, much less a fiancé. Why? Well, her reasoning is that she says her dad was sick and she didn't want to cause yet more tension. She didn't want to have a fight with him when he wasn't well. But this now has Mahdi questioning everything. Is her dad gonna hate me, he wonders?
You know that you have put me in a really difficult situation, right? Like, I was super excited to meet your dad, but you know that I'm super nervous now.
I completely understand why this has floored him. He must be questioning A, if Stevie is almost embarrassed by him, trying to hide him, but B, if that's the case, why is that the case? Has her dad got a preconceived notion of who I am based on what he's seen in the news? How will a guy like that ever accept me, he wonders. Yeah, it's not great. It's not great that Stevie has put both of them, both her dad and Mahdi, in this position, but also that she started off life in America with Mahdi on a lie. Is Maddie's biggest fear now about to come true?
I'm really worried that Stevie's family do not accept me, and I think now they have a new reason to doubt me.
For a guy who's left his entire family behind and doesn't know when or if he'll be able to see them again, the worry that his new family might shun him, not because of who he is, but because of what they think he is, must be terrifying. And you've got to imagine, Mahdi must now be questioning everything. Have I made a gigantic mistake coming here? He must be wondering.
Oh my God.